Welcome to Film Friday. I'm Matt Verderam here, the Arrowhead Addict podcast, and I think you know where this is going just based off of the still shot here we have before the play gets rolling. It is, of course, Super Bowl 57, and it is about to be the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. 65 yards by Kadarius Toney, and there's a lot to look at in this play. This is the first time we've done special teams all year long, but this one deserves a rewatch. And not for all the reasons we feared going to the playoffs. Everybody thought, oh, God, it's Chiefs special teams becomes a big factor in the game. It's not good, right? I mean, and that's not been the case with Dave Tope throughout his decade of tenure here in Kansas City. But this year, it's been scary. They've tried a million guys, it feels like, back at punt returner. Toney ends up getting the gig. And boy, did it pay off on this play. Of course, we'll set it up. Just about 10 minutes to go in the game. Chiefs leading 28-27. They get a 3-and-out. And so Philadelphia has to punt from its own 32-yard line. Now, Sipots, the punter for Philadelphia, the one thing you don't want to do here is hit it low and hit it down the middle of the field. Okay? If you're going to hit a low, hit it out of bounds. You don't want to kick the ball on a low-line drive. The Bengals did it 2 weeks prior to Sky Moore on that huge return at the end of the game. The Eagles do it right here. So as we start to roll this thing, okay, you're going to see Chiefs peel back to set up the return. Now, look at the way the Chiefs are setting this up, okay? If you notice, every Chiefs player is from the hash marks toward the near side of the field, or if you're looking at it from Toney's perspective, the right side of the field. This is a return right, okay? Sometimes you're setting up left, sometimes you're setting up middle. This is a return right. The Chiefs are trying to set up that wall, okay? So everybody's going to peel back now that the ball's been punted. The Gunners, of course, are trying to take care of their guys to give Toney some breathing room. You might also notice something looking at this picture. Kadarius Toney's nowhere to be found because the punt was from the Eagles' 32. So Toney's about 50 yards back. Okay, he's back standing just outside of his own red zone. But the punt's bad. Not only is it low, it's short. And if Toney can get to the ball before it bounces, the Eagles have a big problem. Okay, but that's key here. You got to get the ball before it bounces. Once it starts bouncing around, it can become a fumble. It can get by him. It could be a huge roll for the Eagles, so on and so forth. But the point I want to note right here, Chiefs are trying to set up a return right. Okay, so as we roll a little bit more, you're going to see Toney come into the screen. You're going to see him come in from about the 20-yard line. He's going to catch the ball right there at the 30. Now, you can really see that wall, right? The Chiefs are starting to set up that wall on the right-hand side. Here's the problem with this. More than half of the Eagles are on the other side of that wall, and that's where Toney is. There's nowhere to go right now in terms of getting to that wall. He's going to have to make a lot of people miss. He's catching a low-line drive punt. He's catching it right at his shoe tops. And again, Kansas City is hoping that he can get around end and get to the right side. But that's no easy feat, considering where the punt is, how low it was. The only thing benefiting him is you may notice that nobody's within 17 yards of Kadarius Toney for Philadelphia. So that gives him time to set this up, to make a move or two. And so as we run it a little further, what you're going to see is about right here, you're thinking this probably is not going to go well. Most guys, I would think, would try to go around the left edge, get as many yards as they can. And Toney probably could get to about the 40, maybe the 45 here if he really accelerates. That's not what Kadarius Toney does. He knows that if he gets to the right-hand side here, there's nothing but white and red because the Eagles are all on that side of the field. Now, this is a bad job by the Eagles, too, okay? A play like this does not happen without some poorly held lanes by the coverage unit. The Eagles are way out of their lanes, okay? When you are in a coverage unit, you are supposed to stay relatively in your lane. You're trying to split that field up, okay? And guys are supposed to stay within that imaginary boundary, if you will. The Eagles did not do that, okay? Everybody got out of their lane. Everybody started chasing. And while that seems the obvious thing, in the NFL, you're not taught to do that. You are taught to try to stay in your lane. And, of course, look, as it becomes obvious, the guy's really pinned off to one side of the field, you start to close. Toney is pinned to one side of the field, but the Eagles have no contain on the backside of this thing. And so if he gets out the gate, it's a long run to daylight. We're going to run a little bit more look at where Toney gets to. How the Eagles don't tackle him here is insane. There are 7 Eagles players around Kadarius Toney right here. 7. Okay? If you want to be generous, you could even say 8, but let's say 7 for the sake of it. Toney makes a sidestep, and he's going to force a miss. And what I want you to focus on as we go into the next thing here in a second is Marcus Kemp, number 85 for the Chiefs. He does not get talked about enough on this play. I watched this a few times, and I didn't even notice this in real time, to be very honest with you. Marcus Kemp blocks 3 Eagles on this play. Okay, 3 of them. And as we roll it a little bit, okay, you're going to see Toney get out of dodge, and now he's off and right. Now, Kemp is out in front. Okay, he is going to make a block right here. Okay, he's going to make a block right as now. Actually, excuse me, he's going to make a block in a second. This is where the punter gets blocked at the 50-yard line. Okay, Fortson takes care of the punter. Toney's off and running. Kemp is right above that Fortson block. Okay, he's going to get a block here momentarily coming around the edge. And then he's going to basically serve as a convoy, a one-man convoy, although there was many men on the convoy, for Toney down the sideline. So they block the punter here. Now, at this point, now it's a race to the goal line. Now it's going to be a huge return. The only question is whether or not Toney's going to score or not, or if a penalty brings it back. So as we run it more, Toney gets around that block by Fortson. Now, there's the block by Kemp right at the 38-yard line, okay? Right there. That's Kemp's first block. Catches up. He's made a nice move to get out in front. He makes sure he gets to the number side, and he's not getting to the back because that's obviously a penalty. Right here's perfect form. Right hand, right to the front. Make sure there's no penalty. Toney now is beating the punter. He's forgotten. And it's down the sideline and we go as the Eagles try to close. Watch Marcus Kemp right now again is blocking the 38-yard line. Run it. Here we go. Kemp beats his man. He's out in front. Now he gets a second block here. Okay? He's the only person left blocking. Everybody else has done their job, but they can't keep up. Kemp gets another block here as Toney is straddling the sideline at the 16. Now we run it a little bit more. Kemp says, you know what? I'm not done. I'm going to get a third block on this guy. Kemp now has blocked almost a third of the Eagles' punt team. Okay? If you take out the punter, he's blocked 30% of it. Toney has continued to just ride right behind Marcus Kemp wisely all the way on down the field. And as we run it all the way through, Kemp continues to block his guy, finally comes off of him, and the Eagles tackle him at the 5. They get Toney down after a 65-yard return, the longest on a punt in Super Bowl history. And Kadarius Toney, deservedly so, gets a lot of the love here. Fortson got a nice block, and that's all fine and good. Marcus Kemp was an enormous, essential reason as to why the Chiefs ended up with first and goal at the 5-yard line. A guy who doesn't get a ton of shine, who doesn't get all the accolades in the world, was a huge reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Marcus Kemp getting it done, blocking 30% of the Eagles on this punt return in Super Bowl 57.